Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. Sometimes you can feel a marriage slipping through your fingers long before you have proof. It's in the way your partner's laughter no longer feels like it belongs to you, the way their phone suddenly has a password, or how they start dressing like they're trying to impress someone invisible. For months, I felt it. The distance, the silence, the excuses that didn't quite add up. My wife, Madison Reed, used to be the kind of woman who made everything in my life feel alive. We met 9 years ago at a hardware store. She was buying paint. I was fixing a broken shelf in my cart. She had this laugh, bright and careless, that made people turn their heads. I remember thinking, that's the sound I want to come home to for the rest of my life. And for a while it was. We bought a small house in Denver, renovated it together. She loved lighting candles at dinner, teasing me about my old pickup truck, making pancakes on Sundays while dancing barefoot to classic rock. It wasn't a perfect marriage, but it was ours, until it wasn't. Lately, our routines had turned cold. She'd come home late, claiming work meetings, yet her perfume smelled different every time. She'd scroll through her phone, smile faintly, then turn the screen away when I glanced over. I told myself I was imagining things. After all, Madison was smart, loyal, passionate, the kind of woman people envied me for marrying. Still, something inside me whispered that I was losing her piece by piece. Then came that Thursday night. She walked into the kitchen, suitcase in hand, wearing her favorite beige coat and lipstick I hadn't seen in years. "Weekend trip with the girls," she said, trying too hard to sound casual. "We're renting a cabin up north. No cell service. Just wine, board games, and peace." I studied her face, that careful smile, those restless eyes. "You sure you'll be okay without reception?" I asked quietly. She chuckled. "That's the point, Aaron. Disconnect for a bit. You should try it sometime." She kissed my cheek and grabbed her keys. The scent of that unfamiliar cologne lingered in the air as the door shut behind her. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house was too still, too empty. I sat in bed staring at the dim glow of my phone, scrolling aimlessly, trying not to imagine her laughing beside someone else. By morning, I convinced myself I was paranoid. She deserved a break. Maybe she just needed space. Then, around noon, my phone buzzed with a message. "Love you, babe. No signal up here. Talk when I get back." It was short, sweet, and perfectly timed. Too perfect. Still, I smiled faintly and replied, "Enjoy your weekend." I tried to believe it. I really did. But something about the timing, the tone, it didn't sit right. That evening, I ordered takeout, opened a beer, and flipped through TV channels. Then, just out of habit, I checked my phone again. And there it was. A live video notification. Madison's best friend, Amber, had just gone live on social media. The caption read, "Girls' Weekend. Wine, mountains, and no drama." I clicked it. At first, it looked harmless. The cabin, the laughter, the flicker of a fireplace. But then Amber's camera tilted, and behind her, on the couch, was Madison, wrapped in a throw blanket, wine glass in hand, sitting far too close to a man I recognized instantly. Dylan Carter, her co-worker, the same man she'd mentioned in passing, saying, "He's harmless, Aaron. Just a friend." The air left my lungs. I watched his arms slide casually around her shoulders. Her head rested on his chest. They laughed. She looked happy, happier than she'd been with me in months. And in that single, silent moment, every late-night meeting, every locked phone screen, every cold kiss made sense. I didn't yell. I didn't text her right away. I just sat there, staring at my phone screen, my heart pounding with something darker than pain, clarity. When I finally typed my message, I kept it simple. "Funny. Your friend's live stream looks crystal clear from that cabin with no signal." I hit send and waited. 10 minutes later, my phone started buzzing violently. 12 missed calls. No messages. That was when I realized she knew she was caught. And that meant one thing. The game had just started. I didn't answer her calls that night. I didn't text. Didn't block her either. I just let the silence hang. The kind that says more than shouting ever could. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of messages. "Aaron, please pick up. It's not what you think." I can explain. Explain what? That she accidentally ended up at a romantic cabin with the same man she'd been smiling at in office photos? That her no signal lie was somehow a misunderstanding? I got out of bed, poured myself coffee, and watched the steam curl in the morning light. It's funny. Betrayal doesn't always break you right away. Sometimes it wakes something in you. Something sharp. Something calm. I wasn't the man who'd beg to understand anymore. I was the man who'd make sure the truth came to light and make her regret underestimating me. I spent the next few days quietly collecting what I needed. Madison didn't know it, but I still had access to our shared cloud storage. The one we used for work photos, receipts, and documents. She'd synced her phone there ages ago, and there it was, dozens of new pictures, all tagged from the same weekend. There she was, laughing beside Dylan, toasting wine glasses, sitting on the cabin deck, wrapped in his jacket. And one photo, the one that made my stomach twist, showed her resting her head on his shoulder, smiling like she used to smile at me. No filters, no guilt, just pure comfort in her double life. That night, she came home. I heard the car pull into the driveway around 9 p.m. The sound of her heels echoed in the hall, her voice soft and careful. "Aaron," she called out like testing the air. I didn't respond. I sat in the living room, laptop open on the table, scrolling through the pictures she thought I'd never see. When she walked in, her smile faltered. She knew I knew. "Hey," she whispered, setting her bag down. "You didn't answer my calls. No signal, remember?" I said quietly, without looking up. She flinched. "Aaron, please. It wasn't what you think. We were just what?" I interrupted, finally meeting her eyes. "Coworkers? Friends?" Because the pictures tell a different story. Her face drained of color. "You went through my phone?" "No," I said coldly. "You synced it to mine. I just stopped pretending not to see." For a moment, she just stood there, trembling, cornered, but still trying to find her footing. "It didn't mean anything," she whispered. I was confused. "I love you, Aaron. You have to believe that." I let out a bitter laugh. "Love doesn't look like this." Her eyes welled up. "Please, let's talk. We can fix it." "Fix what? The part where you lied? Or the part where you thought I'd never find out?" Her tears came fast, and for the first time, I didn't feel pity. I felt distance, the kind that can't be crossed anymore. She reached for my hand, but I pulled it back. "Don't," I said. "Not now." Then I stood up, closed my laptop, and walked past her. "Pack your things," I said over my shoulder. "You can explain yourself somewhere else." The sound of her sobbing followed me down the hallway, but I didn't look back. By morning, she was gone. A few bags missing from the closet, a note on the counter that simply read, "I'm sorry. Please don't do anything drastic." But what she didn't realize was that I wasn't angry anymore. I was calculating. Because the man she cheated with, Dylan Carter, worked for a company whose biggest renovation contract was with mine. And if there's one thing I knew, it was how to make business very personal. Over the next week, I quietly reached out to their firm's director, an old contact who trusted me. I mentioned a possible internal ethics issue between one of his managers and a married employee from another department. I didn't name names, just enough to make him look closer. By Friday, Madison called me again, her voice panicked this time. "They're investigating, Aaron. You told them, didn't you?" I stayed silent for a moment, then said, "You made your choices." I just let the truth breathe a little. She burst into tears. "You've ruined me." I almost laughed at the irony. "No, Madison, you ruined yourself. I just stopped covering the cracks." She hung up. That night, I sat alone on the porch, the cool air brushing against my skin. It was quiet, the kind of quiet I used to hate. But now it felt like peace. I wasn't proud of what I'd done. Revenge doesn't heal you, but it does remind you what you're worth. I looked at the stars, took a deep breath, and said out loud, "No more lies." For the first time in a long while, I meant it. A week later, Denver felt different. The air outside the house was quieter, but inside me, the storm hadn't passed. When betrayal burns that deep, silence doesn't heal it overnight. It just becomes the sound you live with. Madison hadn't called again after that last conversation, but she didn't need to. Word travels fast in corporate circles, especially when it's scandal mixed with gossip. I didn't have to ruin her reputation. She'd already done that by lying to everyone around her. The company found out about her relationship with Dylan, and from what I heard, It didn't end well for either of them. Still, part of me couldn't help wondering what she was thinking through all of it. Did she regret it? Or was she blaming me for turning the tables? I didn't want answers anymore. I wanted closure. So, I went back to what I did best, work. I threw myself into renovation projects, spending long hours on construction sites, covered in dust and sweat. I fixed homes for people I'd never met. Yet somehow repairing things felt like the only way to make sense of what had been broken inside me. Every night, I'd come home, shower, make myself a simple dinner, and stare at the empty seat across from me. 7 years of marriage, and suddenly that seat was just furniture. But as strange as it sounds, the quiet helped. The pain stopped feeling sharp. It settled, dull, heavy but manageable. Then one evening, I stopped by a cafe near downtown. I'd been bidding on a new contract and wanted to unwind. I ordered black coffee, sat by the window, and watched people move through their lives. Couples laughing, kids sharing milkshakes, business people typing furiously. For the first time in months, I realized how small my world had become, trapped in betrayal, revenge, and regret. That's when I saw her. Madison. She was sitting outside on the patio, sunglasses on, scrolling through her phone. Her once polished posture was gone. She looked tired, smaller somehow. Dylan wasn't with her. She was alone, her coffee untouched. She hadn't seen me yet, but I couldn't look away. The woman who once broke my heart now looked like someone trying to hold herself together with invisible thread. I didn't plan to speak to her. I told myself I'd just finish my coffee and leave. But when she looked up and our eyes met through the glass, it was too late. Recognition flashed in her eyes, shock, guilt, and something softer, shame. She stood and hesitated before walking inside. Every step she took was careful, like approaching a wound she didn't want to reopen. "Aaron," she said quietly when she reached my table. "Madison." For a moment, we just stared at each other. The silence between us wasn't angry anymore, just exhausted. "You look good," she said finally. I gave a faint smile. "Better than the last time you saw me, I guess." Her lips trembled. I deserve that. I leaned back, studying her face. She wasn't wearing makeup, and her eyes looked tired. There was something raw in her expression, something real. "I heard about work," I said. She nodded slowly. "They'll let me go. HR said it was a conflict of interest, which is just a polite way of saying I destroyed my own career." She laughed bitterly. "Dylan disappeared right after. Blocked me on everything." I didn't say I was surprised. I wasn't. Men like Dylan didn't stick around once the thrill turned into consequences. "I wanted to hate you," she admitted quietly, "for what happened after, for how everyone found out. But I can't, because I know deep down I did this to myself." I didn't speak. I wanted her to sit in that silence, to feel the weight of what she'd done. "I don't expect forgiveness," she continued, her voice trembling. "But I want you to know I'm sorry, Aaron. Not just for the affair, but for taking your kindness for granted. You didn't deserve any of it." Her words hit harder than I expected. I had imagined this moment so many times, her admitting the truth, apologizing. But now that it was here, it didn't feel victorious. It just felt sad. "I'm not the same person you left," I said quietly. "And I don't think I ever will be. You broke something that doesn't glue back together." Tears filled her eyes, but she nodded. "I know." I stood, placing a few dollars on the table for my coffee. "Take care of yourself, Madison." She reached out, her voice trembling. "Aaron, wait." But I didn't. I walked past her, out into the sunlight, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't look back. The cool air hit my face as I stepped onto the street, and I felt something loosen in my chest. Not revenge, not anger, but release. That night, I sat on my porch again, listening to the crickets hum against the stillness. Milo, my dog, rested his head on my lap, and I found myself smiling for real this time. Revenge hadn't healed me, but it had taught me something deeper. That peace isn't about getting even. It's about moving on, knowing you didn't lose them. They lost you. And as I watched the stars blink over Denver's skyline, I whispered to myself, "Thank you, Madison, for showing me what I never want again." The past didn't hurt as much anymore, because finally, it was behind me. 2 months passed after that cafe encounter, and life slowly began to rebuild itself. Not all at once, but piece by piece. I didn't wake up angry anymore. The memories didn't sting the same way they used to. Instead, they reminded me of how far I'd come. Madison had become a closed chapter in a book I'd already finished reading. Her name stopped haunting my notifications. Her laughter no longer echoed in my house. What remained was something steadier, quiet mornings, honest work, and a calm that felt earned. I started spending more time outside, hiking, taking Milo to the park, catching up with old friends I'd pushed away during the chaos. One of them, Jake, owned a small design firm and offered me a partnership on a new luxury home project. I took it, not just for the work, but because it meant building again, literally and figuratively. One evening, while we were sketching layouts at his office, Jake leaned back in his chair and smirked. "You know," he said, "you've changed, man. You used to take every insult personally. Now you're calm, grounded, like you finally let go." I smiled faintly. Guess pain teaches patience. He chuckled. Or wisdom. Maybe both. And for the first time, I realized he was right. Madison's betrayal hadn't destroyed me. It had stripped away everything fake, leaving only what mattered. One afternoon, I got an unexpected letter in the mail. It was from Madison. No return address, just her familiar handwriting. I hesitated before opening it. Inside was a short note. "Aaron, I've left Denver, starting over somewhere new. I wanted to say thank you, not for forgiving me, but for not becoming cruel because of me. You deserved a better kind of love, and I hope you find it. Madison." I stared at the paper for a long time. No tears, no anger, just a quiet sense of finality. She was gone, and maybe that was the best ending either of us could hope for. That night, I sat on the same porch where this story began. The air was cool, the streetlights humming softly, and Milo rested at my feet. I thought about all the things that had changed, how I'd learned to stop waiting for closure from others and create it myself, how I'd stopped needing an apology to move forward. The revenge I once planned so carefully had lost its meaning, because the real victory wasn't watching her fall. It was standing tall again without bitterness in my heart. I took a deep breath, looking out the quiet neighborhood. Somewhere, miles away, Madison was probably doing the same, trying to rebuild her life in her own way. And that was fine. I whispered to the night, almost like a prayer, "Goodbye, Madison." Then I smiled, not because I'd won, but because I'd finally found peace in losing her. As I closed my eyes, a soft wind passed through the yard, and I felt lighter than I had in years. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine again, and that was enough. Tomorrow, I'd wake up early, head to the construction site, smell the sawdust, and start another day, one built not on revenge or heartbreak, but on quiet strength. Sometimes, endings aren't explosions. They're just the gentle sound of a man learning to breathe again.